In the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, as the smoke cleared and the disinformation war kicked in, Pakistan made one of the boldest air combat claims in recent history, that it successfully shot down an Indian Rafale fighter jet from over 200 kilometers away using a PL-15E air-to-air missile, launched by a J-10C fighter jet deep inside Pakistani airspace. For headlines and social media, it was a perfect narrative, a homegrown PAF response using advanced Chinese weaponry, striking down what is arguably one of the most advanced fighters in Asia. But when we pull away the layers of hype and emotion and begin analyzing the battlefield conditions, weapon system constraints, radar physics, and real-time military posture, this claim quickly falls apart. Not slightly, but completely and definitively. Let's start with the missile at the heart of the story. The PL-15E, developed by China and offered to select foreign buyers like Pakistan, the PL-15E is the export version of the indigenous PL-15, which is rumored to have a maximum range of over 200 kilometers. But that's the domestic version. The PL-15E, according to official Chinese defense export specifications, is limited to a maximum engagement range of around 145 kilometers. And that's in optimal conditions, at high altitude, against a non-maneuvering target with minimal electronic warfare defenses. Once you start adding variables, altitude differences, atmospheric drag, evasive maneuvers, jamming, and sensor disruptions, the missile's no-escape zone shrinks dramatically, often closer to 70 or 80 kilometers. A successful hit at 200 kilometers, that's not just unlikely, it's physically implausible. Let's examine what a missile like the PL-15E needs to make a kill at extended range. It relies on a dual-mode guidance system, initial inertial navigation and mid-course updates via data link from the launch aircraft or supporting airborne radar assets, usually an AWACS platform. In the terminal phase, it activates its active radar seeker to home in on the target. But this entire chain, from launch to lock, requires unbroken tracking and high-fidelity data. Over a 200-kilometer stretch, that's nearly impossible to maintain. The Pakistani J-10C, equipped with the Chinese Type 1475 AESA radar, is being hailed by some as having scored a 200 km BVR kill using the PL-15E missile during Operation Sindoor. But this claim collapses under basic physics and radar science. Let's begin with the radar itself. The Type 1475 AESA uses around 1,200 GAN-based transmit-receive modules. It's a modern radar, no doubt, but its maximum detection range for a fighter-sized target is around 120 km. That's the very edge of its air-to-air engagement capability. Beyond that, it simply cannot track targets. So, if the Rafale was even 150 or 200 km away, the J-10C radar couldn't see it, couldn't lock it, and certainly couldn't guide a missile to it. Now consider the PL-15E, the export version of China's longest-range air-to-air missile. It's capped at around 145 km for export customers like Pakistan. Even with that, it requires mid-course guidance from the launch aircraft's radar. A missile isn't a fire-and-forget magic dart. It needs continuous updates, especially if the target is moving, jamming, or changing altitude. So if the Rafale is beyond 120 km, the J-10C can't track it, and the missile flies blind, a guaranteed miss. Then there's the geography of the battle. Indian Rafales were flying deep inside Indian territory, launching Scalp cruise missiles from standoff distances. They were protected by Spectra electronic warfare suites, Indian AWACS, and the long reach of the S-400 air defense system. This created a no-fly zone 300 to 400 km deep inside Pakistan. The PAF had no option but to fire long-range shots from deep inside their own territory, without proper locks, without support, and with very little chance of success. Wreckage of multiple PL-15s found proves exactly that those missiles were fired at or near the edge of their engagement envelope. They failed to hit anything. Their presence on the ground isn't evidence of success, it's evidence of desperation. To hit a Rafale at 200 km, the J-10C would have needed a radar that can track a stealthy, jamming, maneuvering target at that distance. The Type 1475 cannot. No modern AESA radar mounted on a 4.5 Gen fighter can. Even the F-22 and F-35, with superior radar systems, don't rely on solo radar-based 200 km kills. The claim doesn't stand up to technical scrutiny, operational evidence, or the physical wreckage found. It's not a demonstration of air dominance, it's a demonstration of how little the other side understands radar physics, especially against a Rafale. The Indian Rafale isn't just a regular fourth-generation aircraft. It's equipped with the Spectra electronic warfare suite, one of the most sophisticated YO systems in any operational air force. Spectra constantly scans for radar threats, identifies their origin and waveform, deploys jamming, and can even spoof missile seekers with decoys or spectral shift deception. The Rafale also carries an AESA radar that gives it early warning of incoming threats and allows it to detect adversary radar locks from hundreds of kilometers away. A long-range missile like the PL-15E would have had to endure constant jamming, evasive maneuvers, and possibly even be decoyed into chasing a false target before its seeker could engage. But even more telling than the systems onboard either jet is the geographical context of this supposed kill. India's Rafales were not flying along the border. They were launching Scalp cruise missiles with standoff ranges of over 500 kilometers from deep within Indian territory, sometimes more than 100 kilometers from the line of control. This means that for any Pakistani jet to fire a PL-15E at a Rafale, it would not only have to violate its own tactical doctrine of minimal exposure, it would also have to penetrate deep into airspace dominated by Indian air defenses. Let's talk about those air defenses. During Operation Sindoor, the Indian Air Force had fully mobilized its air defense network, which included two S-400 Triumph systems, with their powerful 40 N-6E missiles capable of destroying aircraft at ranges up to 400 kilometers. These systems were strategically deployed to push the no-fly envelope deep into Pakistani territory. Alongside the S-400s were Israeli Falcon and Netra AWACS, providing 360-degree radar coverage, networking fighter positions, and monitoring every inch of contested airspace. So realistically, any Pakistani J-10C attempting to fly within 145 kilometers of the Indian Rafales would be entering the S-400's umbrella and would almost certainly be detected, locked, and possibly destroyed before even reaching launch range. Not only that, India's own fighters, including Su-30 MKI armed with Meteor and R-77 missiles, and MiG-29 UPG with Yo-pods, were patrolling the skies in overlapping CAP formations. The skies over northern Pakistan were under persistent surveillance and strike threat. This isn't just a matter of missiles and machines, it's about aerial dominance. In this case, India had it. But the most damning contradiction to Pakistan's 200-kilometer kill claim lies scattered on the ground, literally. Pakistan did fire PL-15s, but none of them flew beyond 145 kilometers, let alone struck a target deep inside Indian territory. These remains were found unburned, with spent propellant, indicating either a mid-course failure or jamming-induced loss of lock. In some cases, wreckage patterns even suggest self-destruction protocols activated after losing target data. Standard procedure for such missiles to prevent unintended ground strikes. Dassault Aviation, the manufacturer, has formally denied any loss of a Rafale. The Indian government, while not commenting publicly in detail, has internally verified that no aircraft were lost in that strike package. Let's go further. Time-of-flight math debunks this as well. A missile traveling at Mach 5.5, roughly 1.9 kilometers per second, would take over 100 seconds to reach a target 200 kilometers away. That's 100 seconds of radar lock needed, 100 seconds of clear sky, uninterrupted data link, no evasive maneuvering, no electronic warfare interference, and no jamming. Against a platform like Rafale, with constantly changing trajectory and active YO defense, maintaining such a lock is virtually impossible. And during those same 100 seconds, the launching aircraft would be completely vulnerable to counterdetection, track, and interception, especially in a sky full of Indian AWACS and fighters. The narrative simply collapses under its own weight. In war, fog is inevitable, but physics is not. Radar geometry, missile burn profiles, seeker cone limitations, battlefield positioning, and electronic warfare can all be tested and simulated. In every real-world simulation and operational parameter, a 200-kilometer kill by a PL-15E is not just improbable, it's mechanically impossible under the described circumstances. What likely happened is this. Pakistan fired several PL-15E missiles toward IAF air activity, possibly attempting long-range area denial or even blind intercepts. Some missiles self-destructed or crashed after failing to acquire lock, with debris scattered across known trajectories. During Operation Sindoor, India launched multiple decoy drones and electronic countermeasure payloads into Pakistani airspace. These were designed to mimic Rafale radar signatures, spoofing enemy systems into believing a strike package was incoming. This is a standard practice in modern air warfare. Overwhelm enemy radars, draw out their defenses, and expose their positions. Pakistan's J-10CS, in response, fired PL-15E missiles at these radar contacts. Multiple impacts were later confirmed, but not on real jets. Instead, debris of decoy drones and PL-15 fragments were found in Pakistani territory, around 120–140 km from the launch point, indicating that the targets were within radar range and not actual Rafales, which remained deep inside Indian airspace. Pakistan's official government Twitter handle shared a video clip from the popular video game ARMA, falsely claiming it as live footage of a Rafale shootdown. The clip featured unrealistic physics, HUD overlays from gaming software, and was quickly debunked by defense analysts worldwide. But the damage was already done in terms of narrative building. So finally, the question comes to mind how to know when Pakistani ISBR is lying. It's when they open their mouth and speak. Pakistani people also accept this truth that ISBR always lies when about internal matters, but the same Pakistani people act like no ISBR never lies when it speaks about India or Rafale. This shows their true character. Ultimately, who are the people in the military and ISBR? They come from the same Pakistani population. Then you will ask how come Western media houses help Pakistan in spreading these lies. I have provided the answer in this video, titled, What India Hit in Op Sindoor, which made Trump angry.